Hi,
Hello,
I'm Julian.
I'm Coroner Tom.
We are Team Binge. We are here for Bad Monkey, Season 1, Episode 10. This episode is referred to as the finale, and this one was called We're in the Memory Making Business. Tom, did this episode make some memories for you?
I feel like there were some shocks that I was not seeing coming, and I had a great time with it. And I do appreciate that they left it open for a second season so we can get some more Yancey. What do you think?
I agree. I was definitely shocked in the first 5 minutes. I did not see that coming. You know me, I'm typically very stoic, but I typed wowza in the outline because that's just how shocked I was, Tom. But overall, I've enjoyed this show. Do you feel like this wrapped it up well enough that it was worth the plane ride and landing? Did they land the plane, Tom, as we like to talk about?
Yeah, I think the show overall did. This could have probably been a tighter show at like 8 episodes. They probably could have removed some of the fluff, but there was a lot of great content. I think they did a good job even after they kind of finished the main storyline and everybody kind of went their separate ways of kind of concluding everything, right? Like kind of saying where everybody ended up. Kind of did a little like Lord of the Rings kind of thing where it ended like multiple times for me, but it was still good. It was very satisfying, and I like the overall arc that Yancey ends up going on.
Sure, sure. I agree. I don't think there was ever a time. I mean, there are some questionable character choices and some different things that happened that obviously we brought up. But overall, I laughed, I cried, I didn't get impaled. What more could you ask from a show? You know, a little
Yeah.
bit of laughter, a little bit of tears, and my chest cavity is still intact. So let's dive into it and talk through it. As we ended the last episode, can I still call her Dairy Queen, or in this one, out of her memory and spirit, leaving this, world, I'll refer to her as the Dragon Queen out of
Okay.
respect, since
She deserved it.
yeah, since she's now. Although I bet at her funeral they're probably serving blizzards and dilly bars if they have any sort of class at all. Okay, so the last episode ended with her becoming the Dragon Queen again. She's always got that knife on her. She cuts Eve. I appreciated her cutting Eve like under the chin, so it's like not a noticeable scar. It's kind of like obviously Eve being someone who, like me, vanity is important. And this leads to their like argument in the middle of the hurricane or pre-hurricane. And I did not know why she went here, but we do get the Dragon Queen being like, give back the land and leave the island alone. I guess that was kind of a theme of people coming in and taking their land. But this was more dramatic than I was prepared to hop into this Vince Vaughn comedy
Yeah.
on, but I still appreciated it.
And they kind of like left it here in the penultimate, right? Like where they were going to have this big meeting and like Dragon Queen just going like full bore, get off my island. I like Eve still quipping, saying like, yeah, sure, there's too many bugs here anyways. I thought was kind of funny. But this whole deal about like, yeah, the island will demand a sacrifice, and she keeps going and the music keeps like crescendoing. I'm like, oh man, she's monologuing. Like I started thinking like, oh no, is DQ going to die? And yep, sure enough, lightning strikes a branch, she falls and impaled. Rough.
So I assumed Eve was going to die. I don't know why. So I was very surprised when DQ falls on said tree. I do appreciate TV and movie show physics where anything that's kind of sharp goes immediately through your body.
Yeah.
Like in real life, you probably fall on that branch and maybe there's like a small puncture wound in your back. You're certainly in some pain, but it doesn't go through. I mean, I don't have to tell you, Tom. It takes a lot to push a piece of wood through a chest cavity, but
Correct. We've tried.
and she dies pretty slowly. This was not like the universe being like, hey, quick death, come join us in the spirit world. This was like, hey, we're going to let you slowly die and you're going to visit a bunch of people and it's probably going to be pretty painful, even though your force ghost isn't in any pain. So I'm a little bit concerned as to the death process in terms of impalement in this world.
Well, who knows? Like, she might have actually died relatively quickly, but all this thing that she's doing with her Force Ghost thing is happening in an instant, and she's able to like see all these characters at the same exact moment in time. Like, who really knows?
Tom,
but she does give out.
That's you trying to put a cherry on the Blizzard, my friend. The show is very clear. She gets impaled. She does all these visits, and then the show comes back to her where she is still actively dying. So I want you to know she's alive through all of this, and it's terrible.
Well, she does. I mean, they kept her alive long enough so she can essentially scream the curse at Eve, right? Like, I hope you choke on your lies, which we got in like the previously on where she says the same thing to her like first boyfriend or whatever that eventually chokes on her lies. So they're playing at that again, knowing that we're going to get Eve kind of cursed.
Sure. Okay. I did not catch that. I'm glad you brought it up. Now I know why Eve meets her demise in the way that she does. Let's put a pin in that one, Tom, because I've got some thoughts. Let's put a carrot in it. That's good, a sharp carrot. So I do want to mention,
go ahead. I say before you go on, like, or maybe you're going to do this. So he visits Yaya, Egg, and Lulu. And I'm like, oh, okay. So they're all meeting each other. Yaya, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Like, they're having a final moment together. Egg, yeah, kind of makes a little bit of sense. She kind of says, oh, yeah, you got a beautiful voice. You've got a soul. Like, okay, we're going to redeem Egg a little bit. But going into Lulu's bedroom while she's asleep, like, Lulu would be terrified. Like, I felt like that didn't really make much sense. Did they have a relationship before? Did the Dragon Queen know Lulu? She seemed very okay with it.
I think maybe, but I think this is also pointing out that since Lulu has her, like, spiritual world powers, that she's not concerned by this.
Okay.
I'm always a little bit weirded out where people are comfortable talking to ghosts in any form of media, because I know personally, like, if my kid is standing in a doorway and I didn't know they were there, I wet myself a little bit. So listen, if I ever met a ghost, I would immediately then become a ghost because my heart would stop. This is reminding me, not that long ago, I was working on my computer late at night. All the lights were off in my office, and by working, I was playing a video game, and I had a headset on, and my spouse was standing right next to me because she wanted to tell me something. I did not notice she was there. I turned, and I died and became a ghost because that's how jumpy I am, Tom. I don't do
that's
well
fantastic.
with ghosts.
I did just see, this is an aside, but I did just see a little teaser for the new video game they're making from A Quiet Place. And apparently in the game, you can actually turn on a mode that if you're wearing headphones, it can pick up ambient noise around you. So if you are loud, then the monsters are going to run at you. Like if you sneeze, like in real life, then the monsters will come for you.
Nice. That's a game I shan't be playing, but that's good to know it exists for all the people out there that love to be terrified. But we move from, I mean, lovely moment, a little bit prolonged. In the end, she dies on a branch. And unfortunately, one of the better characters in the show. So it's always a little bit disappointing when they kill off a good character.
And does this, I mean, I know this character did not exist. Like, it was always just Yaya, the older woman, was playing Dragon Queen. Do you remember, did she meet her demise, the older Dragon Queen in the book?
I believe she did, but not in such a terrible way.
Right.
Maybe. This is a good question, Tom, that I'm unprepared to answer. So I'm just going to say, possibly. So the next scene is after the hurricane. Were you a little bit disappointed we didn't get to spend time with like Yancey and Neville and all these guys during the hurricane? That's typically pretty good television. It's like, you know, they go down into a cellar, and Yancey's dad is like trying to hold the door, and Yancey's like, "Dad, get away from the door!" And then Yancey's dad gets sucked out, and then Yancey turns into a storm chaser for the rest of his life. And
pretty sure you described Twister, but yeah, that would have been pretty fun if they did a Twister spinoff.
Oh, spoilers for those of you that have not watched the 1990s movie Twister, but have watched the Glen Powell vehicle Twisters.
I feel like the hurricane was all just for that Dragon Queen scene, right? Like for that dramatic deal, and then everything else we're seeing is just the aftermath with trees and branches and stuff everywhere. So it is also kind of like eerie that there's a massive hurricane now going through Florida, like as we're recording this podcast, and that is like when this finale kind of aired. It's kind of wild.
Interesting. I live in Arizona, Tom, where we don't have weather, so I did not give it much thought, but that's because I'm kind of a jerk. So, we have this moment where Neville and Yancey are in the bushes looking at the stripling's house, and they see Egg and the other henchmen, and they're like, oh, we got to go formulate a plan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this was all, I don't know, like getting more Neville and Yancey together, I thought was kind of fun because, again, their banter back and forth was good. Like the whole Vegas ping pong thing was kind of interesting and wild. I always thought that was more of like a Thailand thing, the whole idea of ping pongs. We don't have to get into the details because we're a podcast for children.
Yeah, ping pong tournaments. Big thing in Thailand. Those ping pong balls go flying.
He makes a comment about like you only ever stay one night in Vegas, and I was like, I wonder if they're maybe playing on some of Vince Vaughn's swingerness in that movie and just kind of referencing Vegas. I thought it was funny.
It was funny. This was a good back and forth. Neville the actor is very good playing like the straight man to Vince Vaughn's Vince Vaughniness, and you're probably right. Swingers is a big Vegas reference for people. But he's also not wrong just in general. Like, how often are you super excited to go to Vegas? And then when you're leaving, you're like, I'm never going back to that place again. The place is terrible.
When the fun stops. I get that pamphlet every time.
That's true. But our boy Nate Bargatze is doing a residency out there. So guess who might be making the long drive? Not this guy, because I still don't want to go to Vegas. But I love Nate.
We're so done with New Year, New You. This year, it's more you on Bumble. More of you shamelessly sending playlists, especially that one filled with show tunes. More of you finding Geminis because you know you always like them. More of you dating with intention because you know what you want. And you know what? We love that for you. Someone else will too. Be more you this year and find them on Bumble.
Speaking of people that are in love, we have Eve and Nick is apparently recovering from now a spinal wound based on the yellow liquid that is coming out of the hole. That was a gross moment when she pulls that bandage off and it like ejects some weird foamy stuff. I did not
her response,
appreciate
she's
it.
like, yeah, it looks pretty good. I mean, I don't really love the yellow stuff, but...
Eve is the worst. Eve and I are the worst caretakers of anyone that's ever been wounded. But
why didn't I don't know if I understood, like, they have the means to be able to get Egg and then now Bacon coming into the scene. It's like the extra muscle. Like, why would they not be able to get a doctor to come to the house and do something for him?
I do not know. They make it seem like they're paranoid Yancey will find them, but they're just hanging out at their house. So I would think that, yes, they would definitely want to go. But I guess he's also supposed to be dead. So when you show up to the doctor and the doctor's like, do you have any medical records? And he's like, no, I don't have any medical records. He's like, what happened to your arm? And he's like, I don't have an arm. And he's like, you don't have medical records or an arm? He's like, man, where'd you get your doctor degree from? Detective school? And so that's probably why he didn't go to a doctor, Tom.
Okay, that makes it more sense. But I do like Eve like messing with the new muscle and calling him Bacon, and then him just immediately saying, "Oh no, you're definitely not calling me that." That was great.
That was Eggs and Bacon just hanging out with him. I feel like Eve does not realize the kind of violent nature of the people around her, even though she herself is maybe the most violent, as it turns out. I was fearful. I don't know why she's a terrible character, but I was afraid that bad things were going to happen to her constantly. And then when something bad did happen, I was kind of glad. So I don't know. I don't know how to read into that, but
it's fair. She's a great actress. Like the character that played Eve, I thought was great. Like she played her kind of like a lovable psycho.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I don't know. I'm sure we talked about this when the series started. I don't know that I know her from anything else, but I did think you know what? I'm going to look her up, see what else she's been in. I'm sure she's got a pretty good career and other things that might be fun to watch.
Meredith Hagner is her name, just FYI.
Oh, she's a grandmother then. Meredith, that's very much, she looks young. That's cool. All right. So Yancey calls, speaking of young, Yancey calls the FBI lady, and he wants her to surprise arrest the striplings because he's not going to kidnap them, but they may just show up in Florida. And this lady does a great job. She calls the stripling like financial people, whoever's holding their assets, and gives them a warning that is that woman from the bank? Is that who she calls?
Yeah, they had her in earlier, and she like turned over the flash drive to Egg. I can't remember her character. I know the actress because she was in. I think we talked about this. She was in that For All Mankind show, so it was fun to see her again. But yeah, I had no idea that she was like their financier, I guess, handling all this.
Sure. I'm not going to say I was confused because I'm a pretty smart guy and I don't often get confused.
Never.
But I appreciated the stakes they were setting up here. They're trying to put some pressure on the striplings. And no one's under more pressure than the guy with a hole in his spine who now found a scooter. I thought that was great.
That was fun.
He's now in his own scooter.
Yeah.
For a
Did
one-armed
you take it from
man.
Yaya?
What's that?
Maybe he took it from Yaya and she was getting rid of her scooter, so maybe he picked it up at a yard sale.
I'm assuming he's got inventory still laying around in places. I was surprised that their whole house, like the bottom floor, doesn't have like 6 of them, and they're not just playing scooter sports all the time.
Sounds pretty fun.
Speaking of scooter sports, Yancey needs that gun. It's very important that he finds the gun. He calls Rosa. I thought this was very funny. She's like, I'm glad you're staying out of trouble. And he's like, oh, by the way, where's the gun? I'd like
You
that.
serious right now?
Yeah.
And I think he even says, like, I don't like when people hang up on me. And then, boom, she hangs up. Like, this conversation was, I don't know. Like, I feel like Rosa gave this big ultimatum, like, we're done. I'm never going to talk to you again. And then seemingly still is thinking about him. Or I don't know. I mean, again, like you said, like, people are, there's multiple dimensions here. So I don't think she would, like, just completely ghost him. But I felt like she was a little bit more receptive to him than how they last left.
No, I agree. I'm going to be honest. The Rosa storyline at the end of this confuses me. So
Yes.
second pin in that.
Okay.
She at least took his call, though, which was nice of her. She does not tell him where the gun is. Although if I was Rosa, I don't know that I could walk you on to like where there was water and alligators and some bushes. Go find it. Clasper's back, and we need Clasper because we need Clasper to get them off the island and not take the striplings.
He's just looking for friends, man.
Just looking for friends. I love when he turns to, I think it's Neville and Donnie, and he's like, hey, give him a big welcome. Like he just wants friends. And they're all like, Clasper's. It's so good. And then Clasper's he loves it.
He's reciprocal. Yeah, does the same thing.
He's so good.
Yeah.
They're gun looking. They're doing a little gun hunting. They're hunting for guns without guns. What Yancey does here, I'm going to do it with my children. I will. My kids are the worst at finding things, just the worst. It's almost like they don't even try and they just expect me to do it, and I'm onto their game. So I'm going to now be like $10 to the first person that finds it after I found it, and I'm just going to take all my kids' allowance money that I often forget to pay them because they don't do their chores.
Make a quick 20.
Oh, so good. So good. We have Eve visiting the bank, and this is where Yancey and Neville are devising a system where he's just going to go and nab her, and Neville's going to drive up, and this was funny.
Yeah, it was interesting. But again, a lot of fun back and forth between the two. I loved the idea of the signal he gives with the nose and then the hair, and then him doing one or not the other, and Neville's just not getting it. It was great.
It's got to be intentional. The signal has to be intentional. Say it together, intentional. Yes.
And then at the end, he does it like 13 times and then gets mad at him for not coming.
Yeah, the police on this island have got to be just absolutely flabbergasted by all the things that are happening. Like, I don't know.
It's usually a quiet island, but yeah, not over the past couple weeks.
Yeah, there was just a hurricane. You'd think they'd have more things to worry about, but whatever. So the next bit happens very quickly. We have Egg wandering into the only bar on the island and finding Clasper, who's hucking fritters like they're, I don't know, some sort of candied cocaine.
He's got an addiction.
This leads to Egg immediately showing up at the bank with cops. Like, the timing on this was a little bit weird, because I don't know. I felt the timing and the editing of the show weird, because all of a sudden Egg is there and he was just with claspers, and we see that Yancey and Eve are in the middle of a conversation in front of the bank. So were they talking for 45 minutes? Did that allow Egg to find claspers, bring him, call the police? Anyways, it bothered me a little bit. That's all.
It happened quickly. But I mean, we got, because this was the guy, like a local government official that ends up being there with the cops that they were trying to bribe on the yacht, right? So it's kind of just showing the pull that the striplings kind of had on this guy. But yeah, timing was, they probably wanted to shoot or put some other scenes in between this, but it was all pretty quick.
It was all chicanery, that's for sure. Speaking of chicanery, Neville crashes the car. They steal a cop car. So much happening in this. Honestly, these cops are not very good at their jobs. I just want to point that out. I love how quickly Yancey's like, I'm going to give you this gun that's in my in my waistband. These cops are not at all concerned that he has the gun. I'm pretty sure guns are not allowed on this island. And they're just like, oh, sure, sir, we'll take it since you volunteered it. I guess because maybe he showed his badge. I don't know. There was a lot that we just kind of brushed over in this moment.
A lot of yada-yading.
Yeah. Not yada-yading, yada-yading. And
correct.
They then find Clasper, who looks very guilty.
This whole back and forth about, like, I'll forgive you, but I'm going to remember. And I'm going to remember. Like, he just constantly keeps saying, I'm going to remember, even as he walks out of the scene at the end. It was very good.
We don't forgive and forget. We forgive and remember. Always remember as he's walking away. Very good. Very good. Tom,
here we go.
This leads to probably the saddest moment, other than Dairy Queen getting impaled in the beginning of this
Heather
episode.
with the weather. I felt bad for Heather.
Oh yeah, Heather in the weather. That was rough too. But this is the way I don't want to go. So I kind of felt this one in my soul a little bit. Yeah. Eve just pushes Nick into the water, lets him know it's happening. Nick knows. I guess because he can't walk because of his spinal injury and he's only got one arm. I mean, this was... I did not care for this death, Tom.
No, it was awful. Like, and you see it just kind of slowly happening, and like Nick's realization of it too. And he's like, "Listen, I wouldn't do this to you," or whatever. And then she's like, "Oh yeah, we're very different people." Like, just so cold
Brutal.
And awful. And yeah, this is... We already know Eve is twisted, but this is just another level, because this is essentially the guy you're supposed to be doing all this stuff for, and he did everything for you. And yeah, just to literally throw him into the water, a one-armed man, half paralyzed. It's awful.
Yeah, it's like when Kramer's swimming the Hudson and the old man jumps in and he looks down and he goes, he went straight to the bottom. That's all I could think about although he does flounder for a little while. Tom, this is some life advice for everyone out there. If you ever find yourself being one-armed and in a wheelchair, make sure you purchase a wheelchair with a handbrake so that you can just click on that handbrake and that your girlfriend / spouse / lover / co-murderess can't dump you into a Florida swamp. Life advice from Julian.
Smart.
There you go.
Although, let's be honest, even if he just flopped out of that chair, 30 feet before the water, he's going to still finish him off some way or the other.
Watching Eve drag Yancey by his one arm to the water while Yancey is pouting would be comedy gold.
Well, you mean Nick, right? Not Yancey. If she did it for the Yancey and Nick at the same time, impressive.
Did I say Yancey?
You said Yancey.
I did totally meant Nick. Thanks for saving me there, Tom.
Well, you know what? Hey, there is a dragging of Eve and Yancey. It's just flipped, right? Eve is dragging... Well, no, hold on. No, you are right. Technically, Eve does drag Yancey later on in this episode.
I knew it. I was on to something. Thank you. All's forgiven, Julian. Once again, I
Podcast
get the
gold.
I was correct. All right. We then find Eve arriving at the boat, her boat now, and Egg is there, suspicious of where Nick is at, but not so suspicious that he's not going to take that wad of cash and leave, which I appreciate Egg's priorities. He's just like, money, all right, I'll go do what I'm paid to do. And This leads to Eve trying to learn how to drive a boat. Tom, do you think if you were put on a boat like this, you could drive it like you stole
Oh,
it?
goodness, man. I saw all those buttons when she started pushing stuff. Like, I get the concept of a key and then turning it, and then I get the concept of throttle. But, man, there seemed like a lot of buttons that I'd be confused about.
Yeah, there were a lot of buttons. So many buttons. But in the end, she takes off at what I would call drag a body behind holding a rope speed, or someone who could run along the dock in unison with you speed. She drives off. We have this. Sometimes I'm confused by this show whether or not it cares about the action, because they seem to like make a big deal out of it. I'm not watching. Vince Vaughn's not Tom Cruise. Like, I don't need to watch Vince Vaughn run, jump, or do anything. I certainly don't need him fist fighting people in the living room when they come to shoot him. I don't know. Yancey running, jumping, and grabbing the tow rope was a lot.
I kept trying to, like, as I'm watching, like, okay, how much of this is actually Vince Vaughn and how much of it is, like, some other guy? And they did a handful of shots where they get pretty close. I'm like, oh, yeah, Vince Vaughn, he's getting in there. He's doing his best Tom Cruise impression. But I'm with you. They could have probably found another way to do this.
How old is Vince Vaughn? Is Vince Vaughn the same age as Tom Cruise? Are they both 70? Is that?
Let's see. Vince Vaughn is 54 years of age.
Oh,
so,
no, that's not too bad.
yeah,
I guess
he can still do it.
He can still salsa, still grab.
He's just a lot of man, so it's a lot to carry and jump around.
Okay, that's exactly right. There is. So, let me ask you this. There is this poignant moment. Once again, this show is one, trying to be like, hey, Vince Vaughn's an action star, and two, Yancey, the character, is going through like an emotional moment here where he's having all of these people in his, I guess, slowly drowning brain telling him to let go. And this did not pay off for me. I did not need this. I don't know. Did you have an emotional response to this moment?
I think kind of. Like, it was more so to me like what his dad said about letting go of like going after these bad guys and not staying with like Rosa or something that's like good in front of you. I feel like that was the most connective tissue for the concept of just saying let go. And then obviously it's the figurative and literal sense of letting go. Like the whole idea of like Neville saying, oh, you gotta let go, you're gonna drown. Like, okay, yeah, but like I can't imagine the guy would literally hold on until he drowns. I feel like your body would probably actually just let go if you're in the state of drowning. But yeah, we get Neville saying it with a dad saying it, Rosa, and then I'm assuming Elsa at some point probably comes in and says let it go.
Yep, that's good. I like that a lot.
I like the callbacks of like the quick little flashbacks. So throughout the whole season, people have been telling him to let go in different forms or fashions. So kind of getting those quick cuts to that, I thought was pretty good. But it's not like, I don't think it was a tearjerker moment for me by any means.
So where my terrible brain goes is I immediately am like skeptical, and I'm like, did these characters actually say this in the show, or is the show just trying to like make up these memories so that I feel like this is something? And if I had more time on my hands, which I don't, I would go hunt down every clip where a character says let go to Yancey, but I did not because I don't believe it. So I just popped on Frozen and listened to the song, Tom.
I think they're there. But like I do appreciate the whole scene being, we've gotten all these Tom Petty covers throughout the entire series, and this last one here of Won't Back Down was pretty good. But I'd also say that, I mean, I don't know, if you're in the situation you're getting dragged, you just pop up, right? Like, I've wakeboarded before. You just kind of pop your feet up, you know, just like if you're getting Sarah Marshall, getting that surfboard, you just got to pop up.
That's right.
Should have rubbed it in.
Do less. Well, do more than that. But yeah, no, I agree with you. He should have swung his feet forward and then planted them and then told her to go faster. And then
exactly
him. I mean, that's a jumping the shark moment for a TV show. But
Happy Days, yeah.
So when you hear these songs, do you immediately know they're Tom Petty?
It depends on the cover. I feel like some of the covers were a little bit more like a slower version of a faster Tom Petty song, or faster of a slower sound. So some of them are a little bit tougher to pick up, but I've listened to his kind of greatest hits albums a handful of times. So yeah, they get me.
That's what I appreciate. For those of you that don't know, Tom has got like a categorical knowledge of what I would call old rock and roll, that he doesn't know how he knows it, but he was just exposed to it at some point. Whereas I was not exposed to it because This song was not in a hymnal, so I am never like, oh, that's a Tom Petty song. Never. This is why I have to be friends with Tom, so Tom can be like, hey, that Tom Petty song. And I'm like, oh, yeah. He's a great driver. Yeah. I really like his music. I don't know.
I feel like you could pigeonhole this into like Jesus, right? Jesus won't back down. There's probably some Jesus montage you can do of him not backing down.
That's fair. Yes. They did make that UFC movie about Jesus where he wouldn't back down. He was played by Channing Tatum. All right. Goodness. Let's move on. Speaking of bodies that won't back down, Neville finds Nick's body, which after 3 days has risen from the water and is laying on the beach. I, for a second, was like, oh, he's alive. And then I was like, oh, no, he's definitely dead. The show didn't do that to us. Because I wanted Nick to live. I felt bad. I don't know why, but maybe it's Rob Delaney. I don't know what it is. I wanted Nick to live.
No, I mean, we talked about last episode, like maybe you could have given him a slightly redeeming arc if he turns in Eve or does something kind of kind, but he was still a brutal, murderous person.
That's true. He
deserved
killed Zach.
It probably in the end. Yeah.
He killed Zach Braff, but his daughter takes it well. She's sad. Good acting from the young Lawrence. She, I think, had a tear on her cheek, which I'm assuming was real.
I like that Yancey goes to see her and kind of gives her closure, says that, hey, your dad loved you, and it was touching. I liked it.
Sure, he was probably just trying to get some of that insurance money, but that's fine. This would be a mess to figure out insurance-wise. Like, he died again, and then... Although, do you even report it? Do you just stick with the original now that... but I guess Eve's... I don't know. I'm not an insurance guy. I'm not going to try and figure it out. How'd you feel about Driggs ending up with Neville? Was this inevitable? Did this make you feel good?
I guess. I don't know. Like,
yes.
Sure. Why not?
Okay, so deep down, Tom, you did not care about the Driggs and Neville. You could just say that. You don't have to. I guess. Oh man. All right.
I just don't like. The relationship of this monkey and Neville at the beginning was kind of fun. He was just like always following him, and the monkey's just doing funny little like looks to the camera, doing cute little things. But then the monkey just kind of disappears for a while and then comes back. Like I didn't see this like it's not like a dog type relationship to me where it's like your loyal buddy that's been with you through thick and thin. It just seems like a wild animal that's got a diaper on.
Oh man, somewhere there's a 7-year-old movie review by Tom that says, loved Aladdin, didn't care for a boo. Let's a boo. And like, I didn't know you were so out on pet monkeys, but that's just wonderful.
It's all those PETA rabbit holes I went down talking about the abuse of monkeys. Why couldn't they just use a CGI monkey for this show, right?
Exactly. Or a person in some sort of monkey suit. That would have been great as well.
I don't know. Did it hit you? Did you have this?
Oh, absolutely not, Tom. You're more of a pet person than I am. If it didn't hit you, it certainly didn't hit me. To your point, I thought it was a little bit strange that the show's called Bad Monkey, and I think in the book, Driggs actually plays like kind of a critical role. Yeah, more mischievous
or stabbing somebody. If he stabbed Nick at the end, that would have been more fun.
I think it's more of like a wrong place, right time sort of thing, where Driggs does something. Once again, I should have reread the book before. Good point. But I don't think we got enough Bad Monkey. I don't think we got enough monkey in Bad Monkey, I guess, But, to each their own. I'm glad Neville and him found each other. Speaking of people we're happy for and what they found, Eve is on some sort of weird villa in Portugal, standing at the top like she's a drug lord. I didn't understand.
I don't know how much money she took with her. It only seemed like a small bag. I don't think there could be that much money to buy this massive villa in Portugal.
Or maybe Tom, let me tell you about the real estate market in Portugal, my friend. Okay, once she falls, a bunch of people walk out. So my assumption is she's in some sort. It's like a hotel.
Resort or,
exactly. But she's killed Tom as a guy that hates vegetables. Did you find that this kind of justified the fact that you'll never eat anything green or that is a vegetable because she dies by carrot?
It was funny. So like the idea of the carrot getting her from the hex, which I like Dragon Queen's last dying breath puts the hex in and takes her out. But they teased this early on. I think it's like the second or third episode where she's like eating a carrot or something of the like, and she like says, "Oh, I almost choked on that one right there." Like I thought that was kind of funny. But I mean, at the end of the day, it was not the carrot that killed her. I would argue it's probably the fall, or maybe the stop from the fall that killed her.
Gravity, yeah, gravity is it'll get you. It'll get you every time. I appreciated the haircut they gave her for this. She's like, I killed a lot of people. I got away. I'm going to get bangs. It was like, oh, always a good choice. Everyone loves bangs. And then I realized they did it so they could put that weird blonde wig on, I don't know, the dummy or stunt person that they threw off the building. I was like, oh, okay, that's why we did the haircut that we did. I don't appreciate the bloodlust that the dog has. The dog can't stop licking blood. Did not appreciate that at all.
Yeah, I didn't get it. Again, it made me seem like, oh, this is maybe something from the book they're trying to tie in. Like it makes it seem like it's a little vampire dog.
Yes, very much so. A little vampire dog that now has no owner, so I'm assuming is going to the pound, whatever the Portugal pound is. Or the dog inherits everything and owns that building now. We'll never know.
That's season 2.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that would be. I will not be watching it if it's called Bad Dog and it's just about that murderous dog that drinks blood. Okay, we find out that Yancey's no longer a cop. He's back to being a restaurant inspector because of all the things that went down. He does get new neighbors, which I thought was a funny take. Those 2 kids, I hope they make it. I'll talk about this now. Does Yancey, we never get Yancey discovering that Eve died, right? We don't get that payoff.
No,
correct?
There's no closure there. Yeah, only I guess like from a reader's perspective, the reader would have known this if this is how the book went down, or in this case, it's just, the viewer gets it. Because I think he needs to not know for this last speech that he gives to make sense. Like that he didn't get closure from this when in all reality we know he did. Like she met her demise.
Okay. I did not like that. I would have liked to have him get the satisfaction of knowing she fell off a roof while choking on a carrot and then was eaten by the dog.
Yeah.
I would have appreciated that.
I kind of like the messiness of that, and like it's more true to life where you don't always know exactly kind of what happens in these cases and kind of stuff that he's doing. And again, his last speech would be, I think, less impactful if he did know.
Okay. Well, yeah, it is true to life that we always just assume the person that's wronged us goes and chokes on a carrot and dies. So that's fair. I've written that in my diary several times. When Cox Communication was such a bother to cancel and I had to talk to that customer service person. Yeah, I wish bad
choke on a
things
carrot.
on them. Anyways, Bonnie calls and
So glad to have her back.
yeah, I know that you wanted less Bonnie. I kind of wanted Bonnie to show up in the finale and do some Bonnie things, but she doesn't. She just she's back at that same resort. Actually, this felt like a scene that was in the show earlier, and they just cut it in to because she's literally in the same chair at that same resort that she doesn't have any money. She escaped prison. What's going on here, Tom?
She's a grifter, man. She used Tomas.
Okay.
Who knows if she's even still with Tomas at this point? She might have moved on to somebody else. But yeah, I mean, I like the moment here where he's like reading her a book and she's kind of like, appreciating it and appreciating him. But if we do get a second season, because the show certainly leaves it on a possibility, I wouldn't be upset if Bonnie kind of comes back in and just plays a more central role or has more to kind of bring to the story.
I hope she just sets everything on fire. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Okay, Rosa shows up. Tom, I'm gonna explain the Rosa part in this finale. Rosa shows up. Rosa leaves. I did not understand this. She's like, she shows up. They make up in a way, and she's like, "But I'm leaving." And it was almost like the show was like, hey, we're going to fake you into that these two are going to get together because everyone wants them to get together. But then Rose is like, I need to go figure out me and I'm going to leave. Like, I got it. I did not like this. I did not appreciate it. I felt like it was TV show. Like, I guess we're leaving a love interest open for him in season 2. Is that what we're doing here?
I guess so. But again, I feel like that would make this a little bit cheaper. Like this being like a breakup goodbye wrestle that they had. I like the banter that he has back and forth. He's like talking about a watch pot never boil. It's like, listen, I've stared at a watch pot. It will boil.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny. But yeah, I'm with you. I think Rosa was just so instrumental to the entire season. I think you kind of needed her to come back to do one last scene with Yancey. If it was just ending on that phone call, I think that would have been anticlimactic. But yeah, I'm with you. I don't know about this concept of a breakup goodbye wrestle. Haven't done it. Not a part of my history.
It's called
maybe
a tussle,
it's
Tom. It's
tussle,
called the goodbye tussle.
Maybe this is more common than us two old guys know.
Yeah, probably. What they should have done is they should have had Bonnie call and Rosa call at the same time. He should have conference called, read them both the book, and then that's where both relationship end. That's what should have happened. We do get a happy ending and some closure. I mean, I don't know what the watch shop, pawn shop situation is, but Neville and Dawn are going to start a life together because he has Nick's watch. I got to be honest, at this point, I don't know that this watch is in good enough condition that we're building a house with it, but I don't know. I don't have fancy watches. Tom, you're a fancy watch guy. Talk to me. You're a James Bond Omega fan. How are they building a house with the foundation being built on a watch?
Listen, just like I don't know the market in Portugal for real estate,
Vampire
I'm not
dogs.
very well versed in Andros. I mean, this seems right on the beach, so it seems like beachfront property. Maybe it's expensive, but I don't know. Maybe through all this, Neville got his land back, is my assumption.
Right.
So he just needs to rebuild, and he had obviously a very modest place, anyways. So if this is a $250,000 watch, I don't know what the pawn shop is going to give him. It's not going to give him that much.
Nope.
I figure like it's a challenge to sell, but I don't know. Maybe eBay.
When I sold my Gam Gam's wedding ring to the pawn shop, I assumed I was going to get full value.
Yeah.
I ended up getting a electric scooter, and so now I ride it over to Gam Gam's grave, and I bid her farewell. One time I clipped the edge of her grave, and then I had to go get the wheel fixed. So I'm kind of in the hole a little bit, but I'm not in the same hole as Gam Gam, if you know what I mean.
But the gravestone's okay.
Yeah, well, yeah, sure. I'm not worried. She's not worried
She's
either.
not worried. Oh, we're terrible. But we do get some other quick little cuts to it, like Claspers and Hurricane Mel apparently are gonna become a thing because they're both talkative people. I thought that was kind of funny. And then we do get a quick cut of the Fed director like getting out of her, black SUV, and then who's there? It's like the driver or maybe a Fed agent. It's Donald from like the security guard. I thought that was kind of funny too.
All healed from his wound. Yes, the show is like, hey, we're going to give you closure on a bunch of characters you don't care about. The real ones you do care about, we're going to confuse you on their closure as well. Other than Eve, that one's pretty, straightforward. But I did appreciate that. And yeah, Claspers and Hurricane Mel being a couple, I'm all for it. They seem like lovely people, and I wish them the best, although he definitely outkicked his coverage. Hurricane Mel could do better than Claspers, but he flies planes, and that's something. So, a lovely moment with Ro and Yancey. I did appreciate them bringing Ro in.
Yeah, and I love the idea of like we're kind of back where not only he started, but like where we started the show. And he just kind of has, and the narrator does a little bit of help here too, but talking about he's back here where he was, but he has no one to share it with. And he looks over the empty chair, but then Ro comes in, and it's great. It's touching.
It's great. It's great. I appreciate Yancey being like, everyone else has changed and grown. I'm a catalyst. I'm a catalyst for everyone else. And Ro's like, you're not a catalyst. And he's like, I'm a catalyst for everyone else. Everyone else grows around me. I'm like a key deer, I'm always here. I don't change. He talks about how they drink seawater. He's like, I have seawater in my... I don't know. The whole key deer thing I thought was very funny.
Yeah, bringing it back to the animals and the deer just kind of running around. But him coming essentially to the epiphany, he's like, I don't have to solve all these cases. I don't so he is a catalyst for other people, but you can make the argument he has changed as a person,
Sure.
at least to some effect. But then Ro teases the idea of him having something in the car. He's like, "Oh, I don't care about it. Take a couple beats, finish your drink, and then immediately, what's in your trunk?" Like, great finish and a great teaser to set up an extra season if they want to do one.
I liked it. I did read a interview with Bill Lawrence where he is open to, because there is another book that involves Yancey. I believe it's called, and I'm forgetting who emailed us about it, but I believe it's called Razor Girl.
Which actually, now that you mentioned that, if you look at the opening credits for the show where it's kind of doing like the beach and the sand is all kind of like disintegrating, at one point you can actually see Razor Girl like book like next to somebody's beach chair. So they kind of like tag it in, which is kind of clever.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. I don't know that I saw that. It was Barb that reached out to us and let us know. So Thank you for that information. Well, Tom, it's been a delight to talk through this show with you. Less of a mystery, more of a comedy. But I enjoyed it all. There were plenty of people in the show that I did not know from other shows, and I look forward to seeing them in other things. I mean, the Dragon Queen, Egg, I enjoyed them all. And so I appreciate us going through this. We will be back for other shows, although we don't quite know what it is. Tom, do you have any final gumshoe sleuthing thoughts on Bad Monkey? Was it bad enough for you?
Outside of the title, not making a whole lot of sense. And I guess this is just what Apple likes to do. Apple's like two big shows is Bad Monkey and Slow Horses. So they just apparently add an adjective to an animal. That's like their new thing.
That is strong marketing. You just cracked the egg. Nice job. You cracked the code.
But I'm with you, man. There was a lot of actors in the show that I hadn't like seen much of their pedigree, and now I'm all for them. But I mean, some of these main actors in Rob Delaney and Vince Vaughn, like I will watch anything those guys do. They're just fantastic. So fun show, great time. Bill Lawrence he's got it, man. He's on a streak. Anything he guy touches is just fun and good television. So excited to see if they come back for another one. I think we would definitely probably pick it up and record on it. And yeah, these are the kind of shows that are fun. Like little comedy, a little bit of murder mystery in the beginning, but just overall fun stuff. Wonderful.
Yep, I agree. You can reach out to us if you have recommendations, and we've gotten some. Thank you, Jennifer. For next shows that we're going to talk about, you can reach us at teambingepodcast@gmail.com. Tom handles all of the stuff that I'm not allowed to have passwords for. If you'd like to buy a t-shirt, we have t-shirts at TeePublic. There's a custom one for Halloween made by a friend of the pod. And Tom, what did I forget?
So Seth making the Halloween shirt. We very much appreciate that. But yeah, follow us on Twitter, on Instagram at Team Binge or at Team Binge Podcast. I think we've gotten a lot of first-time listeners that seem to check us out for Bad Monkey, so we greatly appreciate you guys listening in. Please go back and check out our back catalog. We got a lot of fun shows. We did a handful of these Apple TV shows like After Party, Ted Lasso, Silo is another one that's coming back for season 2, and we did a full season 1 coverage on that. So if you're looking for a new show to do, we'll probably pick that one up. That comes out in mid-November. So yeah, thanks again for joining us, and it's been a great time.
Wonderful. And the last thing we'll say is if you would be so kind as to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. With that being said, I have been Julian.
And I have been... I said coroner Tom at the beginning because so many people died in this, but I don't know. How do I end this? Am I gumshoe? Am I coroner?
I don't know. I do appreciate you explaining to me why you use the title coroner. That'll let everyone know that you think I'm an idiot because I didn't know why you used that title, but that's fine. Tom, you can be whatever you want to be. I believe in you. I'm just going to be dumb Julian.
Okay. And I'll be Rainbow Tom. Bye, everybody.